Welcome back, everyone, to the International Training Institute of Health Masterclass. And this show, we're going to be talking about shoulder problems. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people have shoulder problems. And it's not just about inflammation, because inflammation, we are an inflammation nation. And that's why shoulder problems are so bad. But what we don't understand is every time that you get fearful, right? What do? Right? You
contract.
Yeah, your shoulders come up, and guess what? You forget to drop them down. Mm-hmm. So now let's just all during this show keep our shoulders here for about 20 minutes. And then when you go to put them down, they're not going to want to. They're going to want to lock. So when you contract and you hold those muscles in, when you go to let go, they don't want to let go. Even if I were to take my fist and clench my fist for 10 minutes and then try to, you can't do that. So the more that you tighten up and don't lighten up, you tighten up. And what happens is the tissues should be like this, so they get the blood and the lymph flow and the energy flow. But then they go like this, and then they get crumped up like this. And that's that, oh my God, I feel that knot right here. Mm-hmm. That knot is a physical block that's cutting circulation off in the brachial plexus that feeds the nerves down through the shoulder, that then comes down through the bicipital groove, that gets frozen because you are so fearful and you're dumping adrenaline, cortisol. And then what happens is that sticky, glicky freak out that you do, it causes everything to stick.
Crystallization to
root
through the whole muscle tissue.
And then if it gets in the bicipital groove, you've always got this pain in here. Mm-hmm. And people don't talk about that. But we can get somebody with a frozen shoulder, and you can believe it or not believe it, and they can't lift their arm up. Mm-hmm. And we can, within 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, that's how fast this works. Because when you loosen things up and you pull the fibers apart, it doesn't matter whether it's bursitis or frozen shoulder.
The body wants to go back to its original
state. It's a rotator cuff,
mm-hmm.
a torn rotator cuff problem. You know what? They all get the similar type of work that we do.
It's under the same umbrella. It might be in a different section of it, but it's under all the same umbrella.
So glicky, sticky tissues, issues in the tissues, and we're going to gently and lovingly pull them apart. And those issues in the tissues will block up the nerves in here, and that's no party. And then when you get a little bit intense because of the knots that are either in the shoulder or in the shoulder girdle, that when you get intense, that knot will get a little bit bigger. And when you get intense, you tighten things that actually pushes on the nerve, and that's what drives you crazy. So look at, if I have a shoelace and I tie a knot in it, is it longer or shorter? It's shorter. Every time you get a knot, whether it's in your hip, in your knee, anywhere in your body, when you've got scar tissue, you can call that a knot. It makes the tendon, the ligament, the muscle shorter. Mm-hmm. And then that pushes down, and it's like acupressure on the nerve all the time. And that's what's causing the reflex pain throughout your body, driving you crazy. So the more physical blocks you have throughout your body, the more pain you're going to have, and you're going to have decreased circulation. Mm-hmm. And all we want to do is open things up like a flower so the sunlight can come in. And that would be the circulation to get the light back into the cells, because all cells need light. And red blood cells, they carry, they're ferry boats of light, and they carry light into your cells. And that's how your mitochondria create the ATP to keep every cell healthy. And your DNA are always giving off light, but not if there's a physical block. The light can't get to the cell, so the DNA can't give off the light. Yep. And then you get, what do you get? Low oxygen, low nutrition, and things get dark in there. And that's when we start seeing cellular changes that we don't like. We get a thickening right around the cells. Oh, wait a minute. We get a thickening in here, don't we? Mm-hmm. Well, that's every cell thickening. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think you're getting this. Let's talk about it.
All right, we're going to start with frozen shoulder. So frozen shoulder is a painful and disabling disorder of unclear cause in which the shoulder capsule, the connective tissue surrounding the joint of the shoulder, becomes inflamed and stiff, restricting
glicky,
motion,
sticky, cemented muscles.
Mm-hmm, restricting motion and causing chronic pain. The medical system says that frozen shoulder is caused because of the round head of the upper arm bone fits into the socket. The connective tissue known as the shoulder capsule surrounds this joint. The synovial fluid enables the joint to move without friction. Frozen shoulder is tough, the frozen shoulder is thought to happen when scar tissue forms in the shoulder.
Boom.
This causes the shoulder joints capsule to thicken
Boom.
and tighten, leaving less room for movement. Movement may become stiff and painful. The exact cause is not fully understood, and it cannot always be identified. So it's cool that they're actually
right there though was the first time
that was the first time
the medical system is completely almost agreed with us, but then they say,
but they don't know what caused the scar tissue.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
like,
you know what? We have
There's
almost
scar tissue there, but what caused the scar tissue? We don't know.
we have almost
we do.
we almost have almost shot a show on every part of the body except we only have what 6 more.
Yeah.
Four or five more.
Yeah.
4 or 5 more body parts, and every single time we've read through this, just
And
letting
we've
you guys
probably
know,
shot what 25 shows, 30
yeah,
shows.
way more.
We've done about 25
Yeah.
so far.
Well,
So
maybe 25, 30 shows.
Yeah.
And this is the
first time that
time.
the medical system has mentioned scar tissue, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm also a little curious to be like, was this actually from the medical system? It was.
Yeah.
It was. We swear.
We promise. So the treatment that they offer for this is painkillers, hot and cold compression packs.
Just when we were starting to like them.
Yeah.
I know.
It's over.
Corticosteroid injections, electrical nerve stimulation.
Okay, 1 second. Would you say the injections? What?
Steroid injection.
Corticosteroid.
So guess what? 1 to 2 years later, that where they did the injection, the muscle deteriorates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next.
Yeah. Electrical nerve stimulation.
Can't wait for that.
Shoulder arthroscopy.
Yep.
Fun.
Scraping.
Yep. Physical therapy and joint manipulation.
Okay. But guess what? You can manipulate the joint, but the issue's in the tissue.
The thing is,
And a
when
scar
you're
tissue.
manipulating the joint,
You're
though,
causing micro tearing.
Yeah.
there's a lot of micro tearing going on, and it's actually very, very painful, and you can actually cause more damage in the end than better because the scar tissue is still there, and you're forcing the scar tissue to break itself. You're not going in and pulling it apart. It's having it to snap, pop.
Yeah.
Let's gently just pull things
The
apart.
thing with chiropractic adjustments when you are doing any joint manipulation is you want to do it after the scar tissue is removed. And I can speak from recent experience because I was in a car accident and I get free chiropractic now. So I've been going, and she has been adjusting my hip and completely jammed it because there was so much scar tissue from the accident in the one area that I have to get taken care of first. And she tried to push it back in like 4 times, and it was sending so much pain all down my leg. And then Genevieve worked on it for 10 minutes and it was gone.
So now you've got it. So there you go. Teach you a lesson.
Yep.
Okay, so
Oh, I'm
again,
not going back.
take the string, tie a knot, it's shorter. So now, because of the scar tissue, things are too tight in there. And she's saying, I'm going to take this round ball and stick it into this square peg. No, you got to take the edges off, make it a round hole, and then allow it to just fit and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing, every therapy has its place. Okay?
But it's all about doing it at the right time
Yeah.
and making sure it's right for you. And
Yeah.
before I even went in, I was like, I don't think I should do this treatment today. But I went and I didn't listen to my gut.
Yeah,
So-
well, it happens. But you know what? Just more certification that you are the one.
Exactly.
So
Sometimes we have to go through those things to really realize that.
Yeah, but if you keep on going through
Well,
them, you might
it
want to
won't.
question that one too.
Not going to happen again.
Okay, all right. So understand something. If you have trouble brushing your hair
Shoulder checking.
or wiping your bum, you should come and see us. And I mean that. And that was not a joke.
No.
But, the reality is a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shoulder checking, well, that can be
That's a big
because of
one.
the shoulder.
And the
Okay.
neck.
All right. And I had a lady that came to me, and this is about a year and a half ago, so it wasn't just the other day. And she came for about, I'd say, 7 treatments. And I would work on her and work on her neck, okay? And she would just be, she was probably around in her 70s, and she would start swearing, and she'd start swearing about her husband, right? So her husband was in her neck. But the reality was she had to come. They gave her the licensing for her driver's license.
Yep.
They gave her 2 months that if she come back and she can't shoulder check, they were going to take her license
Yep.
away. So we totally opened it up. I mean, she had
Range of motion.
total
Yeah.
range of motion back. but it took a lot. I mean, this was like, she was European, and and it was just like beef jerky in here.
All the way through.
Yeah, but you know what? Our technique is so amazing. Like, people, we'll show you when we do it, but they'll lay down, they'll put their head over your knee area, and that just opens up your neck, and you go in and to do the technique properly, you can just open them right up. I mean, I've never had to do, I don't know, it was probably 7 or 8 treatments at least on her. And I never have to do that.
That's it, though, with the max.
That's
normally, with something super,
I know, but it was
chronic,
calcified. It was
that's
totally
what I'm saying. Like,
calcified.
complete calcification, major chronic disorders, like a bad problem, we say 3 to 5 treatments.
Yeah.
Something so severe, you've just been dealing with it forever. Nobody's done max, we say 7 to 10.
Well, she's been
trying
it. She's been dealing with this. She said she was dealing with this for 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long
Yeah,
time.
So that's a chronic issue.
The first treatment, we had movement right away.
Exactly.
Right, and that was it.
But I'm just saying, like, clearing out a chronic problem, you can't just do the 1-2 done.
No, but
You
you
have
know
the
what?
muscle memory.
But you can do one treatment on someone
And have relief.
and totally open them up, and they're going to go, wow, it's gone, you know. And it could stay away if they go the
If
perfect
they went
day.
the perfect day and hydrated properly. But
And then they did pelvic expansion, they did the belly button, you know, just
they
start
started loving themselves. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have torn rotator cuff. A torn rotator cuff
I
is
just
an
want to
injury.
say something. Is it okay before we move
Yeah,
on?
of course.
So there was also another gentleman who comes to us, and he's a minister, and he flies here. It's from pretty far away, and he would come every year, right? Every year and a half, and he drinks Coke. He eats burgers and fries. He lives
And
on
he
them,
loves it.
and he loves it. And he says, "I'm never changing." And so, anyways, he went and he got surgery twice, okay, for frozen shoulder, and he got it once on the other shoulder. So anyways, so now what he does, he just comes to us every year and a half, just as it start to freeze, and I go in and I actually do 2 hours. 2 hours on one shoulder to take it apart. And he says, you know what? If I have to do that to maintain my lifestyle, I will.
Yeah, and he loves his life because of it.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you happy.
That's right. And I'll tell you, he had a little Buddha belly on him too, right?
All right.
Because
So
he was happy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
A little rough in the
Look,
belly.
rub it for good luck. So torn rotator cuff. A rotator cuff tear is an injury of one or more of the tendons or muscles of the rotator cuff of the shoulder. Tears usually occur from sudden force or gradually over time.
Mostly over time, and it can happen from sudden force, but you already have inflammation and scar tissue formation in there that you didn't even know about because you already have the beef jerky, so it wasn't elastic and it wasn't forgiving. So you tried to extend further than you could, but you were trying to extend as far as
what you think
as far
you
as you used to,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Treatments for torn rotator cuff. So many rotator cuff tears can be treated non-surgically. They will prescribe anti-inflammatory medications, steroid injections, and physical therapy may all be of benefit in treating symptoms of a cuff tear. The goal of treatment are to relieve pain and restore strength to the involved shoulder.
So we can do the tear, and honestly, it's usually 10 minutes to 25 minutes, worst case scenario, to actually have that taken apart. So that's as much time as you have to waste with us, and we'll guarantee that first treatment. How's that?
Yeah.
And understand something. With the tear, you're dealing with now, it's either going to be a big scar tissue ball in there, or a couple, 2 or 3 small ones, or it's going to be like a rope.
A thick band.
Thick band rope. And you're going to have to go in and take that apart. And once you do, you're back to the... And here's the thing. You got to get this. It's not like, where did all that scar tissue go? It didn't go anywhere. When you added light, when you added oxygen, when you added nutrition, and you brought up the circulation, and you brought up the temperature in that area,
It goes back into
instantaneously
normal
turns it back to connective tissue.
Exactly.
And
And
that-
the toxins, though, that were in that tissue are disputed through sweating and peeing and pooing, just like normal.
Yeah, and that just goes goodbye.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about bursitis. Bursitis is a painful condition that affects the joints. Bursas are fluid-filled sacs that act as a cushion between bones, tendons, joints, and muscles. When these sacs become inflamed, it is called bursitis.
And if I can say something, when they get inflamed, they crystallize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. So they get crystals in them.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just like your blood. When your blood starts to get thicker, you get clots.
Clots.
With the synovial fluid in the bursa, you're going to get crystallization, and that's painful.
That glue,
Yeah,
it's
that-
like
and
little
it all
razor
gets
blades
stuck
cutting and
together.
cutting.
Okay? All right.
The most common cause of bursitis are repetitive motions or positions that put pressure on the bursa around a joint. And for treatment, protecting the affected area, painkillers, steroids, or antibiotics.
And understand something, the bursa's up here, but we have what's called the bicipital groove here where the nerves run down. And most of the time, it's not the bursa, it's actually the bicipital groove. And then you go in here, that'll take you probably 10 minutes to loosen this up.
With
and
all
then
shoulder conditions, when you loosen that up.
Yeah, and then you tell me that they have a shoulder problem after that. They're going to be going like this, wow, I can't believe this. And then we're going to give them the right things to do when they go home to make sure that it doesn't stick back. Right? So we don't want it to stick back because it has a memory. Oh no, I got to stick back because I got to protect this area. Right? And all we got to do is get the person to stay on top of it, and we'll be going through that, won't we?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about all of that in the shoulder treatment video. We're going to walk through and talk about everything that we would do prior to, during the treatment, and afterwards. So if you have any shoulder problems, then definitely check out that video to see if what we do is right for you.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. And what's the next show?
We're going to be moving on to the elbows.
On to the elbows. We're going on down. Okay.
Working our way down.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Welcome back to the International Training Institute of Health Bodywork Masterclass. Now, what we're going to be showing right now is we're going to show how we can go in, whether it's a frozen shoulder, a torn rotator cuff, or you don't even know what's wrong, but you just know you can't brush your hair, you can't lift your arm up, or you just feel that crepitus, that stiffness that's just bothering you, and it's been going on forever. So it doesn't matter if it's just a little problem or it's a major one. We're going to show you how we can, in the first treatment, guarantee you that we're going to do more in the first treatment than every other treatment you had, and we're going to give you back your range of motion, and we're going to get rid of the pain that's in the shoulder, and then we're going to give you ideas and tips and things that you could do at home to make sure that it doesn't come back. Now, do some people need one treatment? Yes. Do some people need 3 to 5? It all depends on your lifestyle. Are you the master of your emotions? Okay. Are you the master of your diet? Do you have a perfect day diet? Do you know how to look after this beautiful vehicle? If you don't, we're going to have to do more work, aren't we? Okay. So that's the reality, and let's do it. Let's show.
So first I'm going to talk about some emotional blocks that can happen in the shoulder because the invisible creates the visible. So we need to deal with that first and foremost. So the shoulders represent what comes from the past and are to be projected in the future. Feels that the future is not arriving sufficiently fast or that their own goals are too distant. Undervaluation because the person has little flexibility within their mental pattern. Lesions on the shoulder indicate that the person's mental pattern is not working. Trouble in the rotator cuff indicates things in your life coming to a halt and lack of movement in any direction. Weight of the world on the shoulders as well. And of course, we have a lot of physical symptoms that can be found in the shoulder, whether it be pain, swelling, inflammation, weakness in the arms and hands, tingling down the arms, or deformity. And we did talk about all of the different medical conditions, or not medical conditions, conditions, and the medical cause, and how we talk about it in the shoulder conditions video. So definitely check that out to find out more information on the difference between what we think and what the medical system thinks on shoulder conditions.
And I'll tell you what we think. We think that as soon as you start taking personal action, and if you come to us, we're going to prove to you that your shoulder doesn't have to stay frozen. You don't have to live with this pain. Just because everybody's doing it, okay, doesn't make it right. And just because there's this new clinic that's guaranteeing results doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different. And the other thing is if you want an outstanding life, then you got to find something that's standing out. And that would be our therapy, because it stands out. Okay?
Definitely.
All right.
All right. So when we start with a shoulder treatment, we do have different positions and everything, but this is the easiest position just to show
We're here
everything.
just to show it.
Yeah. So we would start with just facing up, and we would start by working within the pec. So starting from below the collarbone and working in towards the shoulder and just releasing the entire pectoral muscle. It's kind of like a little pie shape if you look at it from the collarbone down to the shoulder. So you got this little piece of pie that we're going to be working on. And you really just want to use that pinpoint technique to really open up the fibers and to allow that blood flow, circulation, and lymph to come back to the area. From there, we would come and work on the bicipital groove. So let Sage just show where that is.
And you'll feel it when you get your elbow in there. It kind of like sinks on in.
Your bicipital groove is right in the middle, and it comes down your shoulder, and it is actually encapsulating the nerves to feed the rest of your arm. And that's usually where you're going to find that you have problem with the tingling, the pain in your wrist, the pain in your elbow. So you want to check that, and you also want to check the shoulder girdle.
Yeah, most of the time when you are coming down the bicipital groove, you'll find like little pea-sized knots all linked up along the whole bicipital groove.
Yeah, and we have a bunch of different arm positions that we put the shoulder that we're working on in. So we're going to have it down, straight up, and up this way. So that way it's opening up the shoulder in all these different positions so that we can get deeper into each muscle group.
Yeah, and the reason why we do that is because, like Sage was saying in another show, is that if you went and put your hand down a board, it would feel smooth. If you came back on it, you'd get a sliver. Because we're going to go in both sides, all directions, and we're going to find out where the hook is.
Yeah, and you play the angles with their body because their muscle tissue would push on something, and it'll kind of make that protrude a little bit more. And then you're just kind of working around everything, trying to play every angle as possible with yourself and the client.
Yeah, we're always moving around whenever we're doing our work because we're like, oh, I feel like there might be something there. So I just need to adjust myself to really try that other angle. And a lot of the times you're going to find a little piece of calcium or a crystallization or whatever it might be. And you're like, hey, I didn't even notice that was there when I was in that other position. So it's very important to really be thorough, play every angle, and using very small, precise movements, because if you're making too long of strokes with the therapy, then you might jump over it and miss what you're wanting to get into.
Yeah, so that's why it's really important that you stay connected to your breath and you be the guide so they can stay connected to the reason why your patient client, you want them to stay connected to their breath is we want them to let go.
Yeah.
And you want to stay connected to your breath because you want to stay connected to them. And when you do this therapy, and we teach this therapy to professionals, medical professionals, natural health professionals, and lay people, and understand something. The main thing that you need to understand this is having faith in yourself and understand you do not have to be academic to learn this. What you have to be is open to learn it, okay? And have really good sense of feeling. Like close your eyes and just take your time and breathe. And there's nothing that will escape you. You will find the problem. They can't find it in X-ray. You can't find it with your hands. Understand that, okay? When you get therapy with your hands, they're insensitive. I can feel the smallest little crystal, okay, that's in the body, and I've got it. You can't feel it with anything except the elbow. There is no other part of the body, and the technique that we've perfected over the last 40 years proves it.
Yeah, and just make sure you get out of your head when you're doing the treatment, because that can have so much of an effect on the client. And you may not even realize it, but they're getting your energy as well when you're working on them.
Yeah. And really important when we're doing the shoulder treatment, we really work the entire rotator cuff. So we really want to come and using that same pinpoint technique and really getting in. We always are playing our angles. We call it a windshield wiper because that's what it kind of looks like when we do it. So that's what one of the techniques is called. And we will even lift the arm up, and we are going to come all around the shoulder, even coming into the armpit to
Into
release
the
the
backside,
full
almost
shoulder.
Nothing escapes us.
No.
Nothing escapes us. We go on every angle, around it, underneath it, above it.
We're coming onto the shoulder blade, and we're really cleaning every edge around it so that their wing is completely free.
Exactly.
I want everybody to understand something. When you go for therapy, they see how much space they can cover. We're telling you that the problem is in the joints. We're telling you it's in the origin and the insertion, even if the muscle belly's in trouble or has pain. We're telling you that the problem can be one little knot, and it could be causing pain in a quarter of your body. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
So understand, it's not how big an area. It's a precise therapeutic precision that we do, that actually one knot can unlock others and open up the key to set people pain-free. Okay?
Definitely.
All right.
And that's the thing with the shoulder. Lots of people will say they have problems with their biceps. So when we release their shoulder and come down to the insertion and do a little bit of work on the elbow, their entire bicep is free after that.
That's it. Where'd it go? You didn't even touch my bicep yet. We didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because the bicep was the protective agent, because you've torn the tendon and ligament in the elbow or the shoulder too many times, and now it's set up for protection because it doesn't want you to extend or to create too much flexion because the damage has been done.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And that covers our shoulder treatment. Yeah. It's an amazing treatment. If honestly
It takes an hour. It takes an hour just to do that one shoulder treatment. And understand that, because it's about go in, do it right the first time, and create the environment for healing, and then allow the patient client to go home and make sure that you give them steps on how they can reprogram that shoulder, that it's over. It doesn't need to be frozen, and the scar tissue doesn't need to be there. The calcium doesn't need to be there. The crystallization doesn't need to be there, because it's healed. Because your shoulder will want to go right back to the way it is, because every cell in your body has consciousness and it has programs in it. But we teach you what to do when you go home: patting, clapping, stretching, different therapies, DMSO, essential oil, and also diet.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's all found in the Doc Detox library. So whether you're looking for the perfect day diet, the Braveheart 12 self-loving steps, or even fasting for perfect health, you can go to docofdetoxlibrary.com to read any of those booklets, watch any of the videos, or listen to any of the audios.
And also just remember that if you like this video, you can catch the rest of this series, okay, in the International Training Institute of Health wellness guide, okay? A to Z wellness guide. All right? And you'll see it as soon as you go in the library. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you in the next show.